Hello my friends and welcome to live coverage of GP Warsaw. Our quarterfinals are beginning now. Our top 8 has well and truly kicked off here. You're in the booth with Riley Knight, beside me Simon Goertzen, the Pro Tour champion, and it is Hannes Kerem against Louis Bachaud. A tune with Ether kicking things off for Kerem, Simon, but this is not your grandpa's energy deck.
No, it is an energy deck, but it is an energy deck built around electrostatic Pummeler.
Yeah. Very different approach to it here. Hugely aggressive deck. It doesn't play any red cards at all. A small black splash in the sideboard, but this deck has a different game plan to the old, Rogue Refiner value game.
Yeah, and at the same time, it plays more like a combo deck than a real aggressive deck. It has the aggressive starts that we know from energy decks, but ultimately it wants to protect a Pummeler and then just cast larger than life on it and swing for... Well, usually it's around 24 damage.
Yeah, 24, 25 million damage. That's correct, Simon. And I'm casting my eyes over Louis Bachaud's Sultai energy list, and I have to say, I'm not seeing too much when it comes to variation on the deck that actually just won the Pro Tour. So I can see, maybe just one copy of Raska's Contempt rather than the two that Seth Manfield played. But overall, this strategy did very well last week, and Bachaud is trying to do his best to make sure it does very well this week.
And there weren't too many players opting to go for the Pro Tour winning deck, a bit surprisingly actually.
Now look at this here, an electrostatic Pummeler has already been delivered and then chucked in the bin here with this fatal push. Bachaud on the old one Landerino here, he's not going to be happy with that. Pummeler number 2 comes down with 9 energy in the bin. Geez, this is going to knock Bachaud out of the park in short order if he doesn't have another answer to it. The tune with Ether is going to find him that second land, but I mean, Kerem, the great white shark, he can smell blood in the water here.
I mean, this is a completely one-sided match. If Louis doesn't have that second land, of course, you're not going to win against anything. And Pummeler just makes it so that your demise is that much quicker.
Yeah. Yep. Bachaud is preparing that demise right now here for Hannes Kerem. Oh, sorry, the other way around. Hannes, I'm sure he's doing his best to prepare it, but Kerem is the one in the driver's seat right now. 3 activations of the electrostatic Pummeler mean that any kind of pump spell is just going to put this one out of reach here. I mean, what is it? Do you play around Unsummon here?
No, I don't.
Especially when you've seen their deck list, probably not. No.
Deck lists are public here. That's a good comment. What happened exactly there? The Walking Ballista was discarded to hand size.
Looks like it.
And how did the Fatal Push take care of a Pummeler?
My goodness me, Simon.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused about.
That is an absolutely fantastic point, and that has escaped the attention of more or less everyone. My goodness. Well, it doesn't make too much of a difference there, but we are going to have to alert a judge about that because that was not how that. Yeah, that's not how the card works. Not what it reads on the card. I mean, it's a 3-cost creature, and wow, yeah, red faces all around. I would say, Simon.
Just confusion on my face, but I was a bit late to figure that out.
Well, there we go. That's the way it goes in any case. Hannes Kerem has taken out game number 1 in very tidy circumstances after Louis Bachaud obviously suffering from a mulligan there. But that is quite questionable there. So we will, as I say, alert a judge to the fact that Fatal Push was cast illegally there, or was removed a creature that obviously it wasn't in any position to do that. However, now it's time to cast our eyes over the sideboards of these two lists. Let's start things off with Louis Bachaud on Sultai Energy. 3 Death Gorge Scavenger, 2 Die Young, 3 Duress, 2 Negate, an Essence Scatter, Nissa, Scarab God, Vraska's Contempt, and Spell Pierce. A lot of interactive elements here, Simon. What are you looking at in Game 2?
I think that you have to go a little bit lower to the ground, and you want to have as many removal spells as possible. However, the removal that costs a lot of mana, like Vraska's Contempt, is actually problematic. If
Okay, we do have an update, an explanation from the floor here, and this makes perfect sense. That Ballista was not discarded to hand size, Simon, which makes a lot of sense because it seems like Bachaud had mulligan. It was cast for 0.
Okay.
So it entered the battlefield, Revolt was actually triggered, and the Fatal Push was removed from the battlefield. So no red faces, no egg on the faces of anyone other than those hollering from the rafters that it was an illegal play and whatever else, and that everyone should be banned for life for missing it. So, all was in order. Simon, let's hit the sideboards once again.
Yeah. The problem with a card like Vraska's Contempt, even though it's an instant, is that it costs 4 mana. So it trades really, really unfavorably against cards like Dive Down or Blossoming Defense. So I'm not even sure if that's the approach you should take. Most of the time, the sideboarding that you're doing will look very similar to the energy match, the energy mirrors that you're trying to beat, because Fatal Push, well, it does kill Long Tusk Cup, and Long Tusk Cup is also one of the key cards in Kerem's deck.
Let's have a look at what's going on the other side of the table here with Hannes Kerem. Obviously, his sideboard, he came ready to tussle, and he's done a good job of it. But what are the 15 on the bench that he's been looking to get up with? He
has a Swamp and Cartouches of Ambition to beat aggro decks. Not relevant here. He has either Sphere Harvester as more life gain, then a bunch of counter magic, 2 more Spell Piercers, and 4 Negates. I think we will see some of those just to protect his combo. And, well, maybe a single Confiscation coup, but that's not going to be the trump card that he's really looking for.
So both these players seem to have finished configuring their decks post-board here, and we're going to get all shuffled up and ready to go for game number 2 here after a quick victory to Hannes Kerem, and that's the name of the game. That's what Green-Blue Pummeler is all about. Speed, aggression, and explosive finishes. Almost combo-esque, Simon.
Absolutely combo-esque. It's not so easy in this standard format to get creatures as large as Electrostatic Pummeler, and that's because reaching 6 or 9 energy is actually not that difficult, and then it just grows exponentially. Yeah,
we see cards in this deck like Attune with Ether. Long Tusk Cub can generate energy, also a good place to spend it, Rogue Refiner and what have you, but the real powerhouse of the deck is, of course, Electrostatic Pummeler, and a critical piece of the puzzle here, Simon, is giving it trample, because, of course, we're in a format full of 1/1 Thopters thanks to Rogue Refiner, thanks to Wheel of Virtuoso, so how is the Pummeler being pushed across the line?
You are giving it evasion with cards like Cartouche of Knowledge and One with the Wind. You're giving it trample with Larger Than Life, but also with Ronas.
Yeah, Ronas the Indomitable used to be a mainstay of the Temur decks in days of yore, but it's sort of fallen off the radar a little bit here, but Kerem certainly put him back right on it here. As Attune with Ether kicks things off for Bachaud. Hopefully he won't be having mana issues this time, Simon.
This looks like a much stronger start. He will not have to resort to these kind of desperation plays that he had to make. And of course, turn 1 Attune is the best start if you're playing any kind of energy deck.
Over to Kerem now. See what he can stitch together for his first turn, and it's Attune as well. There we go.
Yeah, you can see why these two players are in the top 8.
Yeah.
After all.
Yeah, both of them are playing masterfully so far. I don't know if they've made any mistakes at all. And both of them are tuning well and truly here. The oboes singing away, and we're all on A440. It's fantastic. So let's move on to turn number 2 now. Does Bachaud have a play? He does. Long Tusk Cub, a great start for him. Something
that players are maybe undervaluing a bit is that just staying alive against a combo deck like Green-Blue Pummeler is not going to win you the game. You need to put on pressure yourself, and Long Tusk Cub is the best way to do so. Yeah, as an early aggressive play, it can pave the way for you to keep chipping away with damage while you're interacting and disrupting with, disrupting your opponent. It's a critical card to play here. If it's followed up by a Winding Constrictor, as indeed it is, we're going to see an explosive start on Bachaud's side instead, and 3 energy from the Attune with Ether. Check this out, Simon. This is the combo side from Louis Bachaud. You will see how quickly that Long Tusk Cub actually grows once Winding Constrictor's on the battlefield. Winding Constrictor, one of the key reasons that Sultai Energy can really get up and about here. Manfield really taking advantage of the synergies last week, and Bachaud is doing exactly the same thing. Look at this, attacking with a 6/6 Long Tusk Cub. It's going to gain 3 more energy now. Wow, 6/6 on turn 3, pretty good. Yeah, this is just absurd. Just bonkers here, and Kerem is going to be hard-pressed to find anything. His disruptive elements, his interaction, nowhere near the power level of his opponents. We're not going to see Fatal Push out of his deck. Ooh, we have a race. Okay. This Pummeler can really hit very hard and very quickly, and with 6 energy in the tank, whew. But Luis is starting his turn 4, and he has a 6/6 in play that is effectively already a 10/10. That's just crazy. Easy game. 2 mana 10/10 gets the job done very simply here for Bachaud. But it's not quite lethal. So Hannes has an out here. It's a tiny out, but if he has the right spells and Luis does not have an answer to the Pummeler, Hannes might actually win this game despite probably the best possible start for Sultai Energy. So big attacks now with the Long Tusk Cub in. It comes as a 10/10, meaning we're going to see... Oh, are we seeing a further pump spell here? That's the full 14.
Just a casual attack for 14 on turn number 4. Simon Gertzen, I thought that it was Hannes Kerem who was going to kill with the combo finish.
This is just really insane magic.
The tables have well and truly turned, ladies and gentlemen. Have to get the carpenters in to fix things up because Bachaud has he's run rings around his opponent. Kerem scratching his head, can't believe the way that it's gone. Turn 4 kill in standard is well and truly possible in the hands of someone like Louis Bachaud. He's absolutely crushed it here. And for Hannes Kerem, gee, some questions. He's got to take a long look in that deep, dark, truthful mirror, Simon, and ask himself what went wrong.
Well, he is going to be happy that he's on the play next round because ultimately he is much more likely to win on turn 4 than his opponent.
Well, these players will get another chance to have a look at their sideboards here, and it looks like Bachaud has a couple of cards that he's considering switching around. Kerem seems happy enough with his postboard configuration. We discussed already the cards that are in his deck. I'm quite interested in this innovation here with the Swamp and the Cartouche of Ambition. We haven't seen a lot of Ramunap Red this weekend.
Surprisingly, I thought Ramunap Red was actually quite well positioned, but you do need this skill set of just knowing exactly when to push for damage, when to go for the longish game. With the Hazoret and Ramunap Ruins, and I think a lot of players felt more confident playing Temur Energy or some off-the-wall God Pharaoh's Gift stacks.
Yeah, God Pharaoh's Gift's really the talk of the tournament. We haven't had any of them manage to break their way into the top 8, Simon, but all the same, they did a fantastic job of running rings around Energy right to the very death here. And unfortunately, again, none of them made the cut, but they certainly were up and about this weekend. And
I think the main reason they didn't make the cut is probably because almost all of them got at least one unintentional drop.
Yeah, that's actually a great point.
So actually, a pace of play and closing out games, well, it has been relevant forever, and it will always stay relevant.
I suppose the tricky thing here is in a deck with a deck like God Pharaoh's Gift, especially when you're playing the white version, there are just so many decisions to make. You're drawing so many cards, you're discarding so many cards. At every point, you know, you've got to make sure you're playing tight, and you know the fatigue, the wear and tear on the brain skis of these players as we get deep into the second day. I mean, it's like sitting an exam for 12 consecutive hours, and yeah, that can take its toll. The pace of play sort of falls off, and of course judges there at all times to make sure there's a reasonable pace being adhered to, and especially now in the untimed final, Simon, you can see a judge keeping a watchful eye on the proceedings down there.
Of course, and mental energy is an important thing. Actually, it's one of my strong beliefs that pro players get a lot of their edge from, it's not just being better, but they are more efficient with their resource management when it comes to when and how to spend energy on key decisions.
Mm-hmm. And time is indeed one of those resources that is used in these situations here. So with Bachaud and Kerem just about ready to go now, we're going to check in with him once again once the shuffling is all finished here. And we'll get underway with game number 3. Both the first 2 games falling in quick succession here, Simon.
Yeah, Luis didn't really have a shot in game 1 because of his mana issues. That doesn't mean his keep was unreasonable. If you mulligan to a hand with a green source, you get to scry, and all Attune with Ethers are actually tremendous top decks.
Well, here we go. Players consulting their opening grips, and we're off to the races for game number 3 here, assuming that both players are happy with their 7. And they are indeed. So Forest and Hannes Kerem, no Attune on turn 1.
Well, you can't have the Attune every single time. Maybe Luis doesn't have it either, then it's fair.
There we go. Fair game of Magic is continuing here. Two islands, the exact opposite. 2 forests, resulting in a serve to the Conduit. But it hits the bin thanks to a fatal push. And a glint sleeve Siphoner comes down as well. That's a nice way for Bachaud to pull ahead on cards. But, I mean, that's not the first card I think of in crushing this matchup.
No, it doesn't put on so much pressure. And Hannes just passing the turn here. This might be one of the quickest quarterfinals we've ever seen.
Yeah, after Bachaud went down very, very quickly after the old one Landerino here, and now Hannes Kerem doesn't seem to have his deck favour him either in game number 3. This could be it here. If Bachaud can continue to develop his board and convincingly get on the front foot, and Hannes Kerem just hands it over like a lunch bag here. What do you want, my man? Have a look at this and read them and weep, my friend. Double cartouche of knowledge, and then a bunch of creatures by the look of things in addition to larger than life. Is that a blossoming defenses hanging out under that electrostatic pummeler?
It is, yes.
So a decent hand, just needs another land.
Yeah, and I think it's Kerem who's weeping right now, because this missed land drop was really, really hurtful.
So Duress taking away a blossoming defenses here. Bachaud with one less interactive spell to worry about, but right now Kerem isn't even on the board, so... Oh, and look at that, another land as well. Oh, an embarrassment of riches as he decides which one to play. Oh, dearie me, Simon.
Kerem needs to draw a land next turn.
Cypher in for 2.
Probably wants to get Rogue Refiner on the battlefield.
All right. Here is the Pummeler. Up to 5 energy now, after that Servant of the Conduit provided the initial 2.
And that is a way to victory. It's not out of the question that the Pummeler deck can just win out of nowhere.
So assuming that Louis Bachaud F6s through his turn and somehow forgets to block, one more energy, so an Ether Hub would actually win the game on the spot.
Because of the Oasis?
But Walking Ballista instead is going to have something to say about that. No, larger than life in hand for Kerem. Up to 5, double it again, brings it to 20. But, this is not where you want to be. Poor old Hannes Kerem having to double the power of the, and toughness, I should say, of the electrostatic pummeler in response to the Walking Ballista. Oh, dear. And you just trade off the Ballista here to get rid of that pummeler?
Absolutely, yes. Why not? It's not getting better. But Hannes is holding 2 cartouche of knowledge, right? So 2 cartouche of knowledge, Rogue Refiner, and the second pummeler are the cards in his hand. I don't think he has a larger than life. And Luis knows about it.
So an attack now means that the pummeler will live to fight another day. And Bachaud operating with, near perfect information here. Back to Kerem. And he's going to shoot it in the upkeep as well. Could have done it beforehand, but makes very little difference. Botanical Sanctum. Actually, I guess it does make a lot of difference if Kerem had a... did he know the entire contents of Kerem's hand?
Yes. Okay. I think he was fully aware.
That's the way it goes then.
Because Kerem top-decked the land.
Yeah. So Kerem now well and truly on the back foot as Louis Bachaud continues to run rings around. We see a fatal push target you. Doesn't quite work there. Duress is going to be the play instead. That'd be handy if you could target players with fatal push. But as it is, a cartouche of knowledge is going to hit the bin now after that second Duress, and Bachaud continues to interact now and drawing further and further ahead. This Glensleeve Siphon has done some good work for him.
Oh,
Simon.
yeah.
Much
Absolutely.
more than we expected.
Yeah, it hasn't put on a beatdown clinic like Long Tusk Cup, but it's winning the game on another axis.
So fatal push now after that tragic Sanctum comes in tapped. It's going to continue to draw cards for Kerem here, gain him some more energy, but he is definitely fighting an uphill battle. Swimming against the stream as an energy is placed in his reserve thanks to Ether Hub. Rogue Refiner, a key card in this deck, is in many decks indeed, as it is sort of that 1-2-3 punch. We go attune with Ether into Long Tusk Cup into Rogue Refiner. This deck can take advantage of that.
Hannes knows about the fatal push in Louis' hand. Knows that it will not be able to kill Rogue Refiner.
So it doesn't have to play around it as he slaps the cartouche on and is repaid in kind. But a Spell Pierce instead is going to take care of it.
Well, not a bad exchange for Luis, although he did have to spend an energy to do that, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Or did he? No. Did he spend...
Yeah, I think he did. I think, well, in any case, he cast it. Either off the Ether Hub or the Botanical Sanctum. Gains an energy now from the Siphoner, back up to 1. And this little fella's got in for a fair few points here. He's really doing some work. Oh, Die Young. This is a great answer here. This is generally brought in to contest Hazards, but certainly can get the job done in this way as well.
Yeah, and you want those cheap removal spells. You just have to be careful. I don't know what's in Luis's hand. He needs ways to deal with the final electrostatic pummeler.
Glensleeve Siphoner now. In for another 2. This card's done 10 damage by itself. Unbelievable. Long Tusk Cub as well here. Get the party started even more. Back to Kerem. Botanical Sanctum for him. He seems to be flooding out a little bit. Bachaud draws a card. Look at this. He's valuing that the card draw above the aggression of offered by Long Tusk Cub.
Yeah, but without blockers on Kerem's side, I think that's an easy choice to make. You are just burying your opponent in card advantage at this stage.
Yeah, it's insane here as an Attune with Ether continues to stock that energy reserve. Seeing energy levels go up and down here. And it's a Long Tusk Cub. Glint Sleeve Siphoner continuing to pad out that energy reserve. Back up to 3 now. Whew. Up and down like a fourth grader's yo-yo here as Long Tusk Cub number 2 comes down for Louis Bachaud. And once again, Simon, he just seems to be needing to put the finishing touches on this match. I don't know what Kerem can do in this spot.
Now Kerem is facing lethal, and Kerem has strategically not deployed his pummelers. But, of course, now he doesn't have enough blockers to survive.
Nowhere to get through it here, and congratulations to our very first semi-finalist here at GP Warsaw. It is Louis Bachaud with Sultai energy. This deck cannot stop. It cannot stop. It will not stop, Simon. And unfortunately for all of the fans of the Pummeler, bowing out. And as Kerem, unfortunately. But a very good knock from him, getting all the way to the quarterfinals. And we'll, of course, be seeing him at the next Pro Tour after he's snagged himself a qualification, rather mournfully walking away from the table. And Louis Bachaud, cool, calm, collect, and ready to tussle and hustle in the semis. We'll move over now to Alexander Privalov and Valerio Luminati here. Mardu vehicles facing off against Temur Energy. Privalov crushing the Swiss, Simon, and finishing in first position. Mardu vehicles, a deck that has taken all of us by surprise.
Yes, and maybe there's just some rule in place that there has to be exactly one Mardu vehicles deck in the top 8 of standard tournaments.
We got quotas to fill. We got quotas to fill. Yeah, indeed. Well, this is it, as Mardu Vehicles has once again sort of snuck in. Well, I say snuck in. It rampaged into the first place finish. But, I mean, apart from Privalov, we saw a few people chucking Hearts of Kirin around. But, yeah, it's just the Lone Ranger.
Absolutely. And once again, it's always such a close affair with Mardu Vehicles. If you have a Scrap Heap Scrounger in such a spot, you're in great shape. If you don't have a creature, or if you don't have a high-powered creature, then suddenly it's looking a lot more anemic, or you're just exposed to, for example, a braid ruining your day.
Yeah, and we've seen the wicked curve-outs from the Mardu Vehicles list. Toolcraft Exemplar into Heart of Kirin, get you for 4 in the air on turn 3, and those sorts of starts are really difficult to contest, Simon. But seems to be a big red stoplight in front of Alexander Privalov right now. What they're doing at the moment is sorting out the life totals and whether Privalov paid a life at any point with his Spire of Industry here. Luminati here, the Dorito King. We're going to go back to him now with Temur Energy. He looks to be on the straight 3 colors here, Simon.
Yes, and that's I think we've seen more straight 3 color decks than the 4 color versions this weekend overall.
Yeah, there's certainly been some weird ones, some curveballs thrown up to us by people like Samuel Vuillot, who have configured their decks in very interesting ways indeed, as we'll, I'm sure, explore further as our top 8 continues. But Luminati, he's kept it real, playing the orthodox, tried and true, draw perfect Temur as it's becoming known here. Room temperature Temur, perhaps we could call it. Vanilla ice cream Temur. The names continue here, but a Toolcraft Exemplar is a nice way to put the keys in the ignition of these vehicles, Simon.
Yeah, it must be a good feeling if your 1-drops actually crew even Heart of Kirin.
No attacks here for Privalov.
Very defensive line.
All right, 7 of the Conduit, 2 energy now for Luminati.
I suppose Privalov doesn't want that Deathgorge Scavenger to attack without consequences.
There are no creatures in his graveyard though, so the Scrap Heap Scrounger sort of consideration isn't probably at the forefront of his mind. But that's a very defensive, very conservative line, as you say, Simon. Well, in any case, it's the line he's chosen to take here. He's made his bed. Now he gets to lie down, have a snooze in it. Inventor's Apprentice the play here for Privalov. Another way to crew some of these vehicles.
No, and that might be a reason to get in for 4 damage now. You have the Apprentice to crew the Harvester, which can also, if it's threatened, crew the Heart. So I would be surprised to see no attacks here at all.
So Apprentice into the Harvester. And the trigger for the Dwarf is going to send the 4-4 up into the sky as well. 3-2, piloting the Heart of Kerem.
Okay, going from full defense to full offense.
All right, all right. Flick of a switch of the gears, and all of a sudden, Privalov's on the front foot. Luminati, without too much to say about this. And a follow-up play? No. All right. So Privalov did gain 3 off the Ethersphere Harvester here. And now Luminati. He's got some decisions to make here. As far as I'm aware, he's going to be able to attack, but Privalov could be representing a number of cards here, Simon.
Yes, but he's not representing blockers. Heart of Kerem will most likely only be activated for next combat step. So Valerio has to really consider how he's planning to survive this aerial beatdown. There's this big difference between attacking for 7 and attacking for 6, in the sense that you are representing a 3-turn clock with 7 points of damage.
Yes, indeed. Privalov taking to the skies like the Wright brothers here. Luminati, however, he's got some decent attacks on the ground. He can push through some damage here. Racing made a little bit more difficult by the fact that this Ethersphere Harvester can continue to buffer Privalov's life total, although not forever, of course. Ethersphere Harvester has sort of played second fiddle to Heart of Kerem in this list, but we often see it out of the sideboards of many cards in Standard. So easy to crew, such a nice way to block and gain some life in decks that want it or need it. But a confiscation coup. Luminati's got his eyes on a new car, heads down to the dealership and says, I'll have that one, thanks very much. No, but not too many miles on the dial, and he takes it home.
Also lots of energy to work with.
Oh yeah.
Decides that that's a card he'd rather have than Heart of Kerem. Yeah. Which would also have been an interesting choice, given that it would have been untapped to block.
Well, Luminati shoring up the air force as soon as he gets to untap here with that Ethersphere Harvester, choosing to tap it off across to the right. I do appreciate him doing that. Privalov, 2 cards in hand, Simon, is that right?
Yep.
Looks like the Dwarf is skybound once again here. Quick read of the Death Gorge Scavenger. On blocks, it is not able to tussle profitably with an Inventor's Apprentice. So Privalov all of a sudden very aggressive here, Simon.
And he has to be. If he just sits around waiting, then Luminati's life gain will take over.
Yeah, certainly can't afford to just sit there twiddling the old thumbs here. He has to get on the front foot and do what his deck does best, which is beat down. I'm so surprised by this, though. I mean, you know, Mardu vehicles, I mean, I'm obviously the one in the wrong. It's the one that's top-aided. It's the one that's topped the Swiss here, but it just seems so scrappy, Simon.
It does, yeah. It's every single game is a fight. And it's not... Maybe it's just because it doesn't have these super easy wins that some other decks can pull off. Although, Toolcraft Exemplar into Heart of Kerem is probably the nuts draw that Mardu vehicles always has available to it.
So back over to Luminati now. He is going to be able to attack to buffer that life total if he so chooses. Doesn't look like Privalov has a way to crew the heart here. Hard to stop eating for a time. We haven't got a good look at Luminati's hand. Have you got any idea what he's working with here, Simon?
No. The big question to me now is, how is that decision going to work out, taking control of Ethersphere Harvester rather than Heart of Kerem? Because I think it was a real choice.
Nice full grip there. 4 cards in hand for him, and we're going to see one of them. Is it going to be a Glory Bringer? Glory be, here it is. Crew up the Harvester, and now it's Luminati's turn to start lining up some attacks here, and I like this a lot, Simon.
Oh yeah, and if Privalov doesn't have Unlicensed Disintegration here, I think that could be an absolutely game-winning play.
Wow. Already hovering our finger over that G key here, as Luminati completely turns the tables back up to 12 for him, as he knocks Privalov down to an equal life total here. Privalov's got to find something special here. He hasn't played too much for the last couple of turns.
Well, is he just holding lands? Because creatures he would deploy, removal he would have cast. Chandra?
Chandra could be Hazaret. No, of course, Hazaret. Down she comes. With 1 card in hand as well. This is going to enable an attack. And in she comes, 5-4, doing what she does best. Cracking skulls. Luminati down to 7.
It's a nice comeback. But I don't think it's racing the Harvester.
Ah, this is the thing, dude. 6-point life swing every time, and now a duress? Okay.
I'm not a fan of these duresses in such a creature-oriented matchup.
No, I mean, you know, if you're sniping something like a confiscation cue, you're going to feel pretty clever, but to be honest, it's not always going to get the job done. What's going on with that Glorybringer hanging out down there?
To the left, right?
Yeah, to the left, to the left. That Glorybringer he owned in the box to the left. What's going on? Did he draw that and drop it?
No, the card he drew is in his... You can see it right in front of him.
Did he reveal it to duress?
Oh, that's possible. But
okay, he hasn't put it back in his hand.
But then... Oh, yeah, he doesn't actually have lethal, so... He's just making absolutely sure that he's not leaving himself dead to certain cards, I would assume.
Ah. So the Glorybringer on the table. If it's cast and attack, Simon, that isn't going to get the job done.
No, because he can only attack for 7.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing wrong, at least I don't see there anything wrong with just attacking with the Harvester, gaining 3 life, going up to 10, and playing a defensive Glorybringer.
So Glorybringer, there you go, return to hand. We're going to see the Servant of the Conduit jump into that Aethersphere Harvest. Oh, no, okay, never mind. Pilot's license revoked. Going to do the final cross checks before the crew sits down for land over takeoff.
I do think you want to get in for damage this turn. I don't like holding everything back.
Luminati playing a bit of table piano here as he counts them all up. And let's see how he wants to play it. I mean, is 10 a safe life total when you're facing down Hazoret?
Yes. You have...
Well, here we go. Seatbacks and tray tables up. Down the runway. And the Aethersphere Harvester comes across for 3. 10 life, Simon. Is it going to get him to his next untap step?
I'm pretty sure it will. He's going to cast a blocker, so he's threatening to just block Heart of Kerem, which is an exchange. Well, basically, Glorybringer will not be able to... Oh.
No, he doesn't cast it. I think it's his final card, apart from the Glorybringer, is now a Harness Lightning here. I mean, it's got to be, right? It's got to be a removal spell of some kind. I mean, Privalov is live to do 10 damage if he draws a veteran motorist. He can crew and attack for 10.
Mm-hmm. Also, if he hadn't cast that duress, he might be threatening lethal because he would have had an extra card to discard.
Chuck a card upstairs.
That's why I was a bit surprised to actually see him cast it.
And an attack, no attack now for Privalov. Yeah, it's funny when you'd rather that duress just be a rubbish lava spike and go upstairs. So Luminati now. He can attack with the Glorybringer. He's got another one in hand.
And it looks like his thinking was, if I just take things slowly with the life gain I have and the Glorybringer having haste, I can just threaten to attack for lethal at a later stage.
So once again, trundling down the runway on with the Aethersphere Harvester, cleared for takeoff. Air traffic control says all full steam ahead. And the Glorybringer also providing an armed escort. Intercept from the Heart of Kerem here. It's going to come in and line up some blocks, but Luminati does have the response. Is this the Harness Lightning we talked about, Simon?
A Braid. Could be a full art Braid. Or Luminati might just have everything.
He's got it all.
He got it all.
He's got it all. Harness Lightning comes down and knocks the Heart of Kerem out of the sky. And so now an attack for 7. Going to gain him 13. No, go back up to 13, gain him 3. I'll tell you what, it was looking close, but I think Luminati's snoot is just too far ahead here.
As good as Hazoret is, this is not enough on this battlefield.
Spire of Industries chucked upstairs at Illuminati here. Privalov's final draw step and an extension of the hand. Valerio Illuminati snags a semi-final berth against Alexander Privalov. Mardu vehicles crushed the Swiss but fell at the first hurdle, unfortunately for him. And I tell you what, he's done very well to get as far as he has, but Luminati's campaign continues now after a clean sweep, sneaking his way, Simon, into the top 8. and now crushing the first-placed contender, Alexander Privalov, and well done to him. Tight play rewarded for it.
Absolutely, yeah. Very nice.
So Temur Energy deck moves on to the semi-finals. It'll face off against, well, perhaps the Sultai energy list we saw from Louis Bachaud here. And an update from the back table. Neil Rigby, our spotter down there, has informed us that Jedrzej Schmidt actually has gone down. Godferro's gift was not good enough to get up against his opponent there. So unfortunately, the second seed, Jedrzej Schmidt, on 39 points at the end of the Swiss, went down to 4-color energy in the hands of Jean-Emmanuel Despraz. We've got another game to check in with now. Samuel Vuillot and Grzegorz Kowalski. Vuillot has picked up game number 1 here. Very deliberate player. Certainly takes his time when considering big decisions. And as the quarterfinals are untimed, there is a judge there to remind him to keep up a reasonable pace of play. Kowalski with the lonely skyship here.
Yeah, he's down a game, and it doesn't look good for him here either. He was on the draw. That's always a bit tough. 4th and 5th place play against each other. So in this case, Samuel had the choice to go first.
Certainly benefited him in game number 1. And now Kowalski. Glorybringer's going to go down here to a Harness Lightning. Got a ton of energy. Been shotgunning Red Bulls here. Both of them have, actually. Look at that. Must have had one of the cars drive past. Bristling Hydra in for a bunch. So with 10 and 11 energy in these reserves here, Kowalski's going to have to find something to start putting some pressure on his opponent, Simon.
No, I would like to see Brother Virtuoso. That should be the best way to stem the bleeding and have enough crew members for the Sky Sovereign.
Vuillot unsuccessfully searching for the 13 on the 12-sided die there, as Rogue Refiner buffers up his energy total and draws him a card. Little energy machine here. We're going to see him attune further now. Starts twiddling around with the guitar strings, making sure everything's in tune.
Not the most energy efficient to tune with Ether.
No, only netting 1 energy there. But it's going to get him a basic land. And it's going to be Island. Goes to his hand and then on to the battlefield, of course. Imagine if we put it into play. Wow.
No. Strictly better rampant growth.
Yeah.
That also gave you energy. I don't think.
Don't think so.
Don't think that should be.
Don't think so. No, it had a brief.
Should be something.
That Island had a brief stint in the hand before it was placed on the battlefield. He's chosen his basics well. Look at that original Zendikar full art basic, Simon.
Yep.
It's strong.
One of my favorite sets.
Mm-hmm. Back to Kowalski now. Looks like he's just on land station basics, but right now I think he's probably a little bit more worried about his non-land permanents because he's lacking them. Bunch of lands, bunch of energy. What can he do with it, Simon? I mean, what's in his hand here?
He just needs a creature, and then he's fine. Maybe he's holding too much removal and can't cast it because of Bristling Hydra's hexproof ability. I'm actually quite curious because it's difficult in this matchup to be stuck with 5 or 6 uncastable cards in your hand.
No, that's it. I mean, there's always something you can do, whether it's interacting or disrupting your opponent or committing further to the board. With 5 mana, we may see Glorybringer here. No, it's the Scarab God instead. Okay, well, this is what the 4-color energy deck is all about. That black splash for cards like the Scarab God. Sometimes a Vraska as well.
And is it resolving? Yeah, it looks like it has resolved. So this is a game changer.
Yeah, nice turnaround here as Skovrin takes to the skies and starts blasting the Rogue Refiner here. 3 damage as the 6/5 rumbles across.
Yeah, Kowalski has a lot of lands, it seems like. Now, Samuel with 14 energy, that's actually 4 counters for the Hydra, which means that Kowalski is not that far away from dying here. If Samuel just casts some spells to generate energy, he might actually go for lethal, which would be crazy. But I don't think he can generate that much damage.
Well, one card that generates a lot of energy is sitting in hand, and I think we're going to see it right now here. Confiscation Coup is a nice one. Heralded as one of the mirror breakers in the Temur or 4-color energy matchup here. Oh, and a negate. That goes somewhere to explain why he couldn't commit cards from his hand, Simon.
No, and it's the perfect answer here to protect the Scarab God and to make sure that you are actually the one winning the race. The more refined this standard format becomes, the more important it is to have these mana positive exchanges going your way, and I think Kowalski, this play probably wins him the game.
The negate there could be backbreaking in this case, because that confiscation coup really could have changed things. Vuillot now an attack with his 4-3. Is that one going to grow here? 14 energy. You can certainly afford to chuck some of it around, right?
Yeah, you want to at least threaten a 2-turn clock. The problem is once the Scarab God untaps for Kowalski, what do you really have? Are you really going to do with that Hydra?
Well, check this out.
I don't see it.
Kowalski can activate the Scarab God twice and still accrue an attack with this the console flagship here, in addition to the Scarab God itself. And Vuillot, I think, on the back foot with 14 life. I mean, is that enough?
If there's a haste creature in the graveyard, Kowalski just has lethal here.
No, wait, hang on. He can double activate, drain him for 2, and then attack for 11.
Yeah, that's not quite enough.
Not quite enough. So as you say, haste creature. If there's a Glory Bringer or something, yeah. Of course, Sky Sovereign's trigger can't go upstairs, can target creatures or indeed planeswalkers, but can't go straight to the Domsky.
Aren't we all planeswalkers, though?
Yeah, look, I'm not 100% sure on the exact role of that flavor. Draw a card from the Rogue Refiner that was nicked out of the graveyard here, a 4/4. And Kowalski still seems to have that trigger on the stack. Do you go for the double activation here, Simon?
Depends on your draw step, on your outs. If you're, for example, playing towards that Chandra in your hand, then you don't need the double activation. That's lethal, right? Is that it? If you shoot for 2 with the Chandra, you found exactly lethal.
I think he's got it. He goes to 13. So his opponent on 13. After the Scry trigger has been activated, Kowalski draws, plays the Chandra, dings his opponent for 2, crews the Sky Sovereign with the Rogue Refiner, and attacks for 11. His opponent on 11. Simon, we did it.
We certainly did it. Let's see if Kowalski does it. But I do agree that this should be winning it. I would like to see.
Oh no! Oh no! Simon, we didn't do it.
We didn't do it. We never did it.
We never did it after all. An attack with the Scarab God puts Vuillot down to 8. I mean, what are you playing around there? I think you just missed lethal.
No, I think he missed lethal. You do play around Spell Pierce this way, but I think if you just play your Chandra, you know if there was a Spell Pierce in Samuel's hand. In fact, Spell Pierce would have made Confiscation Coup resolve. So Samuel is 0% to be holding Spell Pierce.
He doesn't have the Spell Pierce because, of course, he would have pierced the negate from the previous turn. The Hydra comes in, and what's Kowalski's line here?
Well, he's basically forced to trump block. He might even want to block with this Sky Ship, which is a bit counterintuitive, but that way you're making absolutely sure that you have as many attackers as possible next turn.
Rogue Refiner number 2 comes down. Kowalski on that value tip here, but unfortunately for him, it's not the optimal line, although it is still a pretty nice one, chucking 2 4/4s in the way of this bristling Hydra. It can tussle with both of them, of course, and it will take them both down, but that will leave Vuillot dead to Kowalski's board as it sees fit. What can he find here to keep himself here and avenge this mistake?
You mean Vuillot?
Yeah.
River's Rebuke. Suddenly the game is not so clear anymore.
Dearie me.
If he posts combat, does he have it in his sideboard? I'm not sure. But if he does, that would be the perfect time for it.
Vuillot is not playing River's Rebuke. Not an option for him to get back into this. River's Rebuke, a card that's certainly risen in my estimation this weekend. Simon, I know that you're a fan of it as well in a way to smash open these Temur energy mirrors.
Another confiscation coup. Take that Scarab God for good. Lava X. I mean...
Yeah. All these cards would do it. All these cards and more. Vuillot. He's not slamming anything into play, so he obviously doesn't have some kind of enormously... Well, it is a reasonably enormous play. It is the Scarab God here, but is this enough? Kowalski. Can he stitch together lethal this turn after having missed it last turn tragically?
Now the double activation of the Scarab God should be lethal. With the argument being that draining for 2 in the upkeep plus attacking for 6 should seal the deal.
So 2 creatures need to be brought back here in order for the drain for 2 to put Vuillot to 6, which leaves him dead to the Sky Sovereign here. So Kowalski is going to bring back this Bristling Hydra, or maybe something else from the graveyard. Oh, there was a Glorybringer as well. Wow. He had lethal 6 ways from Sunday, Simon, and he couldn't find it.
This Glorybringer was also available last turn.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, yeah, then...
oh, dear.
That was definitely 1 turn too many for Samuel.
So Vuillot down to 6 now, or down to 7 after that scry trigger. Draws it straight off the top, and it's a negate. So he's going to feel very safe after this card is drawn, and we're going to see the Scarab God.
It's a complex format, Riley. It's a really complex format.
Yeah, there's so many decisions to make, and with every decision you have the chance to make it incorrectly. A braid on the Sky Sovereign, and Kowalski, wow. He's going to be so happy to have snagged that negate off the top, and he's going to equalise things here. Samuel Vuillot going down in game number 2 to Grzegorz Kowalski. And the judge is going to step in and have a chat with these two boys here as they hit their sideboards for the final time. But yeah, you can see Kowalski feeling the pressure of the feature match area.
I think he needs a coffee.
Yeah. Going to have to take a little time out here and just get himself back into the zone. He certainly eventually found the line here playing against Samuel, and but he needed, well, I don't know, a bit of a mental reset button perhaps to get himself back on top of things, Simon.
And that's important to notice. You have to be aware that you missed some critical lines there.
Let's have a talk about these sideboards, because we didn't get too much of a chance to chat about the individual lists of these two players, and I want to talk about the notable absence of River's Rebuke in the deck of Samuel Vuillot. Now, obviously, this deck is a little bit all over the place, I have to say. Only 2 Hydras, 2 Scarab Gods, 2 Glorybringers. But, you know, we've got that top end in the form of Vraska as well, and Chandra as a nice 3 of Planeswalker there. Interactive elements, Magma, Spray, Braid, whatever else. No copies of River's Rebuke. And this is a card, Simon, that we've identified as actually being quite key in these Team of Mirrors.
We are looking at a matchup where board control is everything. If you're ahead on the board, you're most likely winning. And then we're going one step further with cards like Confiscation Coup to take control of these huge beaters, like, for example, the Scarab God. But for me, the big question, it hasn't been answered. Well, maybe it will be answered in this top 8, which would be great to see. Is it actually good? Is it what you want to have a mind control effect, or is it just better to outright bounce all of your opponent's permanents? Because I'm aware that River's Rebuke costs 1 mana extra, but that seems to me like a card that can bring you back from much more dire situations.
Well, I mean, yes, if you look at the different ways, the different roles that these cards play. So obviously River's Rebuke aims to end the game on the spot, whereas a Confiscation Coup is looking to play a slower, more value-oriented game. You steal something like a Scarab God, you steal something, I mean, even like a Rogue Refiner or whatever in a pinch, it puts another warm body in front of your opponent. That's the point here. But that doesn't win the game on the spot in most situations.
No, and my intuition here is, because I don't have the answer off the top of my head. My intuition is that there have to be some diminishing returns when it comes to value cards. Because Confiscation Coup, as you said, is primarily a value card, which means value card 28 and 29 somehow have to have less of an impact than just, I don't know, this trump card, River's Rebuke. And
in a lot of cases, I mean, you don't have to think too hard about this energy matchup to imagine the hugely stalled out boards we have, or, you know, even if it's something as simple as a Whirl of Virtuoso with an infinite amount of energy, just churning out Thopter tokens one after the other, we get into situations where team of players are unable to break through, whether it's because of huge ground blockers or these 1/1s taken to the skies. River's Rebuke is a 6-mana sorcery that in many situations, Simon says, you win the game, because you bounce all of their blockers, and doing 20 damage with a typical Temur board state on turn 10 is not difficult.
No, and we also see oftentimes Whirl of Virtuosos and Rogue Refiners just not really contributing, but then when suddenly your opponent is defenseless, they get in for 10. And that might be your opponent's life total.
I think River's Rebuke is it's a super duper card. I think it's really well positioned in the team of mirrors. I think it's a card that everyone should have on their radars, that people, I don't know how you play around it. I mean, you have to have cards like Spell Pierce, cards like Negate if you're wanting to really tussle with the toe-to-toe. But, I mean, to be honest, you know, this card could change the shape of the matchup moving forward. Now it's rising on more and more people's radars here.
Absolutely. And it is a mirror, but these lists do vary in some of these key decisions what you're going to play. Both have Raska, but for example, Samuel is going for Nissa, Steward of Elements after sideboarding. Kowalski is going for River's Rebuke, and both have some amount of Confiscation Coups and Vizier of Many Faces, but these are just cards that we've come to expect by now.
Well, both of these players now have had plenty of chances to sideboard as correctly as they think they can. Both have access to each other's deck lists as well, critically, Simon, because we've had such a spotlight shone on these players throughout the weekend. Obviously, lots of information has been shared about their deck lists and what they've brought to bear here. And so as a result, make sure everyone's on an even footing. We do distribute deck lists to the top 8 players before every match, and they're allowed to look at them between games as well. However, not during the game itself. Is that correct, Simon? They can't consult the lists while they're playing.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Quite a long wait here between or before the final game, but Kowalski is back at the table, so that's good.
Yep. He's come back again after taking a bit of a stroll. I think he went and just got himself back into a better spot. Maybe answered a call of nature as well, I would imagine. And right now, ready to get underway and see who is going to be our next semi-finalist. We've already found 3 of them, and one more. One is going to be one of these 2 blokes. Quick pile shuffle here from Kowalski. Certainly keeping us waiting here for this final match to finish up. But after this, of course, the semi-finals will be coming your way. And after that, ladies and gentlemen, if you thought it didn't get any better than live coverage of GP Warsaw throughout the weekend, we are kicking it across the Atlantic to Atlanta, Georgia, ladies and gentlemen. Land of peaches, land of the 1996 Olympic Games. Don't know too much else about it. MLK was kicking about there a while. I went and visited the museum when I was there a few years ago. Had a great time. But this weekend, it's all about the GP that's going on there. Marshall Sutcliffe and the rest of the team, JVL. And TBS, the Ben Sec, ladies and gentlemen, will be guiding you through of course, the final rounds of Swiss there, and in addition to that, the top 8. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss that. As soon as we're Dunsky here with the top 8, we're going to kick it over to the guys in the US, and you're going to see all the bright lights and big names of the United States and Canadian circuit, all the North American fan favourites getting up and about over there. Some people, I understand, did stick around after the Pro Tour, so we might even see some people from wider afield, Simon.
Oh, yeah. And actually, yesterday evening, I did see... I don't remember who it was. No, I saw some members of Team Genesis. Christopher Larson, I believe, stayed in the US to compete in GP Atlanta instead of coming back to Europe.
Now on the back table, ladies and gentlemen, you can see a very, very special feature match. The Hall of Famer Frank Carson doing a bit of spell sling with Elliot Bussaud at the back there. Not exactly sure what's being tested there, but obviously they're on some next level stuff. They're getting ready for their next tournament. Maybe limbering up for Modern in Madrid, perhaps. Got all sorts of fantastic team events coming your way as well as Kowalski goes down to 6. Simon, I know you're excited. You've got your team together, ready to go. Chuck some punches around.
I'm ready.
In the team series, not the team series, sorry, but the team events that are coming up. What are we looking at? We've got Limited in Lyon, and then we're off to Madrid. Well,
in between there is World Magic Cup in Nice.
That's also true.
That's, of course, not an open tournament, but it will feature team play.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Team Unified Modern in Madrid, and I've actually been discussing this weekend with one of my teammates how we're going to approach that format.
Mate, I have seen you with your nerdy spreadsheets and Venn diagrams.
Don't tell everyone
maps.
My secrets.
Oh, sorry.
That's private information.
I didn't realize it was privileged. I'm sorry. I've seen you do X and also Y in preparation for the tournament. Is that too much?
No, that's fine.
You have been preparing.
It was a graph.
A graph. Okay. All right. I'm not going to go any further than that, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll tell you what, if you get paired against... Woe betide you should you get paired against the Gertzen machine, because he's here to take names. He's not here to make friends, ladies. You've got enough of them, don't you, Si?
Well, I guess.
Too many, in fact, I would say. The way you treat me, anyway. So these boys now, Kowalski ready to take 6 of the best from the headmaster here. And we'll have a look at what Vuillot is working with as well, with his 7. Looks like he's happy to stick around with the 6 that he's copped here, and he's going to scry to the bottom. So we've got a game in our hands, ladies and gentlemen, and Kowalski is after a mulligan. Going to have to find a way to stitch together a win to put himself in the top 8 semi-final, but Vuillot is standing in his way with the servant of the conduit right now for him on turn 2.
Yeah, first draw step was Nissa, Steward of Elements for Kowalski, so board presence is going to be even more important if we're going to enter the Planeswalker mode of this game, maybe as soon as turn 3.
Chandra comes down, and immediately it looks like we're going to have a Flame Slash. No, okay, it's going to be a Harness Lightning instead going upstairs there. Little Rite of Flame. And Kowalski's mana disrupted here, Simon, but does he have a follow-up play?
Yeah, he has an untapped land, at least a Rogue Refiner. I wouldn't expect Nissa to come down here. That just seems like a waste because it dies on board to both the Servant and the Chandra.
Rogue Refiner. Draw a card, gain 2 energy. One of the workhorse cards of this deck, of course. 4-color energy, 3-color energy, and even 2-color. Green-blue Pummeler, all relying on the value engine that this card is.
Turn 3 Chandra is difficult to cast for sure, but or Chandra is difficult to cast in 4-color energy, but if you have a turn 3 Chandra, it's still one of the best ways to win the energy mirror. Maybe not one of the most subtle ways, but if it works, why not?
Attune with Ether now for Samuel Vuillot. Searching through his library here for a land. And it's going to be an island once again, characteristic of Vuillot here. Interesting he didn't fetch a black source there, Simon. Maybe he has the swamp in hand?
That could be a reason, because he is holding blue sources. He also has the Servant in play. Could be many reasons. Could be Confiscation Coups or Vizier of Many Faces in his hand. Could be the swamp, like you said. No, if he doesn't have a black card in hand, there would also be a reason.
So, one of those famously drawn out Attune with Ethers here from Samuel Vuillot.
It's actually pretty crazy that Chandra gives you 2 mana every turn while plussing. Like 2 extra mana each turn. That's at least 2 cards, right? That you're not investing into land drops.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, yeah, it's just kind of, if you can do it consistently, it's like having 2 extra lands while you've still got a Planeswalker that's going upstairs here. And it looks like Samuel Vuillot is going to drop some heat on us all here with an Ether hub off the top. Going to burn Kowalski down to 18. And Chandra continues to go up and up.
Okay, what does Vuillot have on 3 mana here? Or 4 mana?
For 4, it might be a Bristling Hydra. I've seen one tucked away in his hand. Yes, indeed, Ski. And an Attune with Ether as well for Samuel Vuillot. So if any of you are needing to perhaps duck off and grab a drink or make yourself a sandwich, or indeed, I don't know, watch the 2nd season of Fargo, you may be able to do that while Samuel Vuillot is casting that Attune with Ether next turn. Back to Kowalski now. Definitely under the gun as for a Bristling Hydra has come down right on time on turn 4, and Chandra Torch of Defiance powered out on turn number 3. Servant of the Conduit. I mean, we don't see these sort of busted mana ramp draws from Temur too often, but when we do, whew, hard to come back from.
No, this is problematic. If you have matching Servant draws, but you're on the draw and your opponent basically deploys a Planeswalker while dealing with your turn 2 Servant, then you can see how far behind you are, even though we are so early on in the game.
Back to Kowalski now. Attune the draw. Nissa in hand, falling further and further behind here as Vuillot builds out an enormous board. It's got a nice full grip though, so Kowalski may have the tools he needs to get himself back in it. But Simon, already the pendulum swinging well and truly towards Vuillot.
You could see that players were checking energy counts there. I assume there was some confusion about whether Vuillot's count of 6 was correct, but it is.
6 to 4 the count.
He's generated 8 energy this game. No, 10 energy, but he spent 2 of it to kill the Servant, and he's activated his own Servant twice.
Checks out.
Math checks out.
Yes, some quick mathematics here from my colleague, Simon Gertzen, who... You've got a degree in it, right?
1 degree, yeah.
Just one. One of the several. Confiscation coup in hand as well for Kowalski as he plays his 4th lane up to 5 energy now thanks to the Ether Hub. That confiscation coup, I mean, as potent as it is, maybe a little bit too late here. He's been listening to too much James Blunt.
Same would be true for reverse rebuke, so it doesn't solve the biggest question of this weekend.
So a tune is the play now for Kowalski.
And this is so frustrating. You have a creature, you have removal, even a mind control effect, but there is a hexproof creature protecting Samuel's turn 3 Planeswalker. So what can you do here except for just playing out permanence and hoping that somehow over the coming turns things will improve?
I mean, Chandra's not a particularly swift Planeswalker. You know, we see like Nissa coming down and ultimating within 2 turns, and you know, the Torch of Defiance doesn't have that option, but still, it's not the first time we've seen a Chandra emblem this weekend. Here's Nissa, Steward of Elements.
And Nissa gets to scry 2 here. 3 loyalty is decent, I would say. It doesn't immediately die to a Chandra activation, and it doesn't die to a servant attack. But well, Kowalski has to be aware that this Nissa might not survive the turn.
No, it doesn't do too much work here, and I'm surprised. I mean, you know, he's a 3-mana Planeswalker. We've always got to be aware of 3-mana Planeswalkers and the way that they can affect a board. But Simon, if you had told me that a Nissa would be coming in post-board, and I had to guess in the dark, I would say Nissa Vital Force, because as I said, it ultimates very quickly, it provides a lot of pressure very soon, and you know, it can also go into value mode in a board that's perhaps stalled out or when you've got those blockers up. But I'm still interested to see the impact that the Steward of Elements can have on the texture of the game. I haven't seen her ever really overtake a game.
No, that's not her role. It's well, it's important to note that you're already playing almost too many 5-drops in the energy mirror, especially with Confiscation Coup coming in addition to Vizier of Many Faces, the Scarab God, Glorybringer, and so on. So Nissa is actually a way to have a 3-drop that can also threaten to be a huge late game play, especially with the ultimate being enabled the turn she comes down. Sure,
that makes good sense as we see another Steward of the Elements come down, the first one being binned by that Bristling Hydra. So Vuillot now sitting behind a Chandra, sitting in front of a Nissa. All things are going, it's all coming up Vuillot right now. A couple of value engines in addition to this Torch of Defiance that is threatening to ultimate, and it's going to be Sky Sovereign that's going to keep the Torch of Defiance off that -7 ability here. But I mean, any way you slice it, Kowalski is really under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, Samuel just used an Abrade, so Kowalski might be hoping that the Skyship survives here. But I don't even see a way for the Skyship to take over the game. The way the loyalty counters shape up, it's not even threatening to kill both of the Planeswalkers or anything crazy like that.
No, that's funny, isn't it? When you're in a position where you can deal 9 damage across 2 Planeswalkers and it's not enough.
Really nice synergy between Chandra and Nissa here. Both basically interacting with the top card of your library. Of course, Chandra's +1, and then both of Nissa's main abilities.
So Nissa and Chandra both going upstairs here, hand in hand. They are getting the job done. Seems the Gatewatch isn't quite torn to pieces here as these 2 Planeswalkers go to town in the feature match area. Kowalski now.
No, flavor-wise, Kowalski really needs Nicol Bolas here, but
yeah.
I'm afraid from a gameplay perspective...
Aura Devastation? That'd get it done. Imagine that. But instead it's Confiscation Coup, different 5-drop sorcery here for Kowalski. Going to bring that Rogue Refiner across, as we mentioned.
And that's not a bad exchange here, given that you do get to activate the...
Oh no. Oh no. Vuillot just has it all. It's got it all.
Yeah, Vuillot actually could have also killed his own Rogue Refiner in response to the Confiscation Coup.
Yeah, that actually... well, it gets the Sky Sovereign off the table, which means that Kowalski isn't drawing as live to power the 6/5 and take off down the runway. Look at this. Nissa up to 9 loyalty. Jeezy, crazy lemon squeezy. Look at her go.
I think he found a negate on top of his deck, which is the one card you don't want to see when you're planning to activate Chandra next.
Yeah. Well, look at this. One on top, one below. And Chandra now, I mean, maybe we see Flame Slash mode take care of that Rogue Refiner once and for all. I don't know. Looks like we're a long way away from that ultimate. Nope, okay. Up to 6. And it's another Bristling Hydra now, thanks to the energy gain, oh sorry, the mana gained by Chandra Torch Defiance.
This has been one of the most lopsided games of the whole tournament, and Kowalski is just hanging in there. He's like, okay, show me what you can do.
Show me what you got. Give it to me. World of Virtuoso pushing Samuel Vuillot up to 13 energy. Auspicious, Simon. Auspicious indeed. And now an attack once again with these two. Geez, these guys have gotten busy. Kowalski's going to be knocked down to 6. Got to find something very special. One time. River's Rebuke off the top. What's he got? Planeswalker in hand. Anything else to work with? 5 lands. 4 cards in hand. 4 mana. Doesn't look like it's going to be the Rebuke here. What can he find here, Simon? I don't see a way out of it for Kowalski.
No, for 5 mana, I don't think there's anything.
Well, he's counting them up. He's doing his best to find his way out of this. Now just down to 2. And it is a drum roll, please. As the timpani goes mild, it is Serve of the Conduit. And a World of Virtuoso. So blockers for days now. He's up to 13 energy as well, Kowalski. As you mentioned, Simon, barely keeping himself in it.
Yep, by a threat.
But Vuillot now with 2 active Planeswalkers, you'd think it wouldn't take him too long. And these, look at this, the Air Force is in full swing. Full mobilization from the little aircraft carrier that is the World of Virtuoso.
Kowalski is on 4, so the Air Force is one problem. The Hydras are a problem. The minus ability on Nissa, the ultimate on Nissa, is a problem.
Oh, mate. Kowalski's got about 99 of those things.
For 7 blockers for Kowalski, so I'll leave the rest of the math to you.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, between us, between the coverage team, we have several maths degrees. All of us have, I imagine, taught maths at one level or another, Simon, as well. So certainly there are some of us who are in a great position to crunch these numbers like a bowl of Rice Krispies. But Vuillot at the moment is the one playing air piano as he does the counting. Kowalski's going to have a quick read of Nissa, Steward of Elements here. This card has a lot of text.
Just making sure if he was correct not to concede yet.
So Nissa can go downstairs and animate 2 lands, but Vuillot choosing to prolong this here. Those lands would be 5/5 flying elemental creatures as well, which would certainly up the attacker account that he has and go to town on Kowalski's board, who, as you mentioned, is on an effective 4, thanks to the Chandra here.
Yeah, I was considering the minimum that Chandra can do here is deal 2 damage.
So we have Spire Bluff Canal going to ding Kowalski down to 4, as we said. Now, is there a way that Vuillot can push through the 4 final points of damage here? Kowalski, you would imagine, going to have a hard time getting back into it, but anything could happen. Here is the attack. Bristling Hydras, naked as they are, Simon. Not a stitch on them. 0 energy, or 1 energy, I should say. 0 activations available to Vuillot.
No, the energy was used for these Thopters that are also joining the red zone. And Kowalski will be forced to make Thopters of his own here just to stay alive. And then it's the question how he wants to line up his blocks. I don't think these are any kind of final blocks. He's just doing some math here. Usually in this kind of situation, you tell your opponent, okay, let me think about this before I enter blockers.
Well, plenty of decisions here for Kowalski to make. Vuillot as well with a fair share of them. He's got active Planeswalkers, he's got abilities to activate with energy and that sort of thing, and he's certainly enjoying his time in the spotlight. I mean, Nissa of Steward of Elements does have a lot of text on it. Sometimes it is hard to read that, read that sort of war and peace-like card that get to that third ability that more or less wins you the game on the spot. But as it is, we have an attack now with these creatures, as you can see, just the 6 of them. So Kowalski will have the chance to line up blocks, and I imagine he's going to get at least one more untapped step here, Simon.
My best guess would be he's just trying to survive on a low life total this turn, and then he hopes that he can top deck into River's Rebuke. So either an untapped land or the River's Rebuke itself. But although I don't think he has. Oh, he has the Servant now. So yeah, if he has River's Rebuke, then there's a theoretical chance that he survives next turn and the Chandra doesn't immediately kill him.
So Chandra threatening to ultimate next turn, so hopefully we will have an end to the game, or should Vuillot choose to deploy it. And yes, indeed we do. Kowalski checking in one last time with the top of his library, but Vuillot takes it out. 2-1. Finally getting the job done after point-blank refusing to ultimate any Planeswalkers, ladies and gentlemen. He's still got across the line there, and we'll see more of him in the semi-finals now, with our 4 players assembled and ready to go. My friends, we're going to take a quick break, but of course stick around. The Hall of Famer Frank Carsten will be joined by Matej Large, Zed Zadokaj in the feature match area, and you're not going to want to miss a minute of it. These guys are going to steer you through the turgid waters of the semi-finals, and we'll see you back on the other side of this. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you back in Poland here at GP Warsaw before you know it.